Welcome to another episode of The Voice of Rio Grande. We are really excited about spring starting here. We've seen that the trees are starting to bud and the temperatures are just perfect here. So as we're inside, we're thinking about being outside today. And I wanted to let you know that we have a wonderful guest here today. Our Attorney General, Mike DeWine, is here with us. And Attorney General DeWine, we're honored that you took the time out to come to this area and to be here to talk to us about a lot of the things that are going on in your life and things that are going on in the Attorney General's office. Thank you so much.
Well, it's great to be back on campus. Thank you very, very much. And it's always fun to see what changes have been on campus since the last time I was here, and to hear more about, frankly, what you and your students are doing.
Oh, the students are great here. I hope as you're walking around and kind of moving from place to place today, you'll get to meet some of our students because they are extremely impressive. And also the campus, I hope you will see some of the changes. There's always something going on here. And I think it's just exciting for people who travel around or love this state the way that you do to be able to see what a gem that we have. We're really proud of it.
And it should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey and what has led you to this service in the Attorney General's office? I think it'll be fascinating for our viewers and just to kind of see a little bit about that track and path that you've been on.
Well, my wife Fran and I grew up in a little town, Yellow Springs, in southwest Ohio. Mm-hmm. Started together in the first grade.
Wow.
We both went to Miami University, got married between our second and third year there, and then went to law school, little school, Ohio Northern, up in the northwestern part of the state. And when I got out of law school, I went back to my home county, which is Greene County. County seat, of course, is Xenia. And first job was as an assistant county prosecuting attorney, and loved the job. Within three months after passing the bar, I was in trying major felony cases.
Oh, wow.
So for a lawyer, there's nothing better than that. You're kind of in the arena.
Yeah. And
it was a great experience for me. After that, I was elected county prosecuting attorney, served one term. Then I was in the state senate, then served in Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives for 8 years.
Okay.
Then I was George Vornovich's lieutenant governor in the 1990 election, so for 4 years I did that, and then ran for U.S. Senate and served in the U.S. Senate for 2 terms, 12 years, until 2006, and I was involuntarily retired, as we say to people about that. But then did something that I wanted to do the day after the election. My wife Fran says, you always said you wanted to teach. Now's your opportunity to do it. So I had the chance to teach at Cedarville University, as well as Miami and Ohio Northern. And so for the next few years, that's what I did, and it was a lot of fun. People ask me, well, what did you teach? I said, well, what I know. I talked about campaigns and elections, and I did a course on Congress, and so kind of political science courses. And I think what I brought to it was maybe the more practical, here's how it really works, here's how it looks from the inside, and I think the students enjoyed that.
Oh yeah.
So that was a lot of fun, and I ran then for Attorney General in 2010 and was successful, and then was reelected in 2014. And we can talk a little bit about it, but the job of Attorney General is just a fascinating job.
Oh, I bet.
And
I bet.
I used to tell people that if you're a county prosecuting attorney, you see every problem that comes across your desk is the problem that the county has. And it's if you're the Attorney General, it's sort of like a big picture, a big version of that.
Right. Well, I've met a number of people on your staff, and I just wanted to say to you how impressed I am with the staff that you have and the work that they do.
Good, thank you.
It is very, very good work, and they are dedicated.
We have some good people. We have some very, very good people who work very hard.
Yeah, and I don't think you can do and be successful in the kind of position you're in or the kind of position I'm in without that kind of support and the ability of your staff to do that.
You have to have very good people. We have very, very dedicated people.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, there was I hate to quote you with you here because your own words at the moment are
I'm sure
much
it's an
more
accurate
impactful.
quote,
We'll see. We'll tell. But you had said that every day in the Ohio Attorney General's office, we are working to protect Ohio families, and everything we do here comes under that. And I thought, that was a wonderful statement for your website, but also a wonderful statement for us as citizens of Ohio to see that and the strength with which you communicate that, and then the way that your office has lived that out, and you as the leader. Can you talk a little bit about some of the important work that's going on
Sure.
in your office? I know that we could probably be here for the next couple of days talking about it.
Well, I've learned over the years that the elected official, it's sort of like being the head of, president of a college, head of a business, that you set the tone. You set what I use the term culture. We talk about culture in business.
Right.
There also has to be a culture in government.
Right.
And sometimes it's challenging to do that. So when I started, I wanted to define for the people we have working for us. We have about 1,800 people.
Wow.
And some of them I brought with me, but most of them were there when I came.
Okay.
And I wanted to kind of define, this is how I see what we do.
Right.
This is what I think is important. And protecting Ohio families is really what I think our mission is every single day. We're a big law firm, first of all. We have a lot of lawyers.
Yeah.
We are your lawyer for half of what you do.
You are, yes, and we appreciate that.
Not the private side,
No.
but the public side. And so we have lawyers who do nothing, frankly, but advise our colleges, state colleges and universities,
Right.
Our community colleges about what the law is.
Right.
And as you know, maybe our viewers don't see it as much, but colleges and universities have all kinds of legal issues.
Absolutely.
First Amendment issues that have to be dealt with. Public information, how much has to be disclosed, and so we work on that. Every single day. We're the governor. We're the attorney for the governor. We're for the state legislature, Secretary of State. It's an election year, so the Secretary of State is always getting sued.
Right.
And I'm his lawyer, and we have people do that. We also run the state crime lab.
Okay.
We have 3 crime labs, one at Richfield, which is up and around the Cleveland area. We have one at Bowling Green in northwest Ohio, and then we have one in central Ohio in London.
Okay.
And we take evidence in and process that evidence. So if there's a serious case, or sometimes not even horribly serious, evidence would have to come from Gallia County, or would have to come from any of the other Jackson County or the other counties in this area. They go to our crime lab.
Okay.
And so it's like watching CSI on TV or NCIS. I mean, we do all of those things.
Right.
It's not quite as glitzy as you see on TV.
No.
I always love it when they put the screen up there and they're talking back and forth together. Well, we don't quite do that.
Right.
But every single day we're solving crime.
Right.
And the biggest change since I was a county prosecuting attorney is this DNA.
Okay.
If you, let's say you had a rape case when I was a county prosecutor, and if the victim did not know the assailant, maybe it was dark, she could not identify him at all,
Right.
The odds are we were never going to solve that case at all. Today, he has left, not only has he's always left his DNA, but now we have the ability to retrieve this unknown DNA, put it into a national DNA database where there's now 13 or 14 million known and unknown profiles.
Right.
And many times we get a hit,
Yeah.
and we solve the case.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. We even can do what's called touch DNA. So, for example, we had one case, and the assailant it was assaulting a woman, and he took his hand and tried to cover her eyes so she couldn't see him.
Yeah.
We were able to get his DNA off her eyelids.
Wow.
So you can't do it all the time,
Yeah.
but
just the possibility.
the possibility of
it's
doing
there.
that. So
Yeah.
we solve just a ton of cases.
That's
We also have what we call a special prosecution unit if the local county prosecuting attorney, particularly in the smaller counties,
Right.
maybe gets overwhelmed. Maybe they've had a big drug raid and now they have 50 cases that they didn't have the day before.
Right.
We'll send prosecutors in if they ask us
Oh, that's good.
to be of assistance.
Yeah.
Our job really is to assist local law enforcement, the sheriff, the prosecutor, the coroner. If they need help, they call us. Crime scenes, for example. And again, this is something we see on TV all the time.
Yeah.
And I always laugh at the crime scene because all the actors are always picking up pieces of evidence.
Right.
Which is
Like taboo.
yeah, you really shouldn't destroy the crime scene. You need
Right.
to photograph it first, and then
Right.
and you can collect your evidence. But we have a team that will come in, and all they do every day is do crime scenes. So it's not local police can do that,
Right.
but we do it every day. And so
Exactly.
if they've got a really important case and they want us to come in, we'll come in no matter what.
Yeah.
What time it is. I mean, no matter what time it is of the day, we have people out there right now. I'm sure as we are doing this today,
Right.
we have somebody in someplace in Ohio doing a crime scene.
Wow.
We do antitrust work. We had a case, for example, about 6 months ago where we had charged 2 different salt companies that were selling salt to all the county engineers in the state in the state of Ohio. That our allegation was that they conspired together to one would win one county, the other would win the other county, and they based their price on that and kind of divided up the state. So we had a settlement on that, got some of that money back to the local counties. So it's, as you can see, it's kind of a wide,
It is.
diverse amount of work that
Yeah.
we do.
That's pretty exciting, though, when you see the impact on all of those different levels and in all of those different
It
ways.
is. I mean, I told my wife right after I was elected, and I took office, I came home about 2 weeks. I come home every night because we live in Cedarville, so I'm kind of a commuter. But one night I came home and I said to her, I just love this job. I said, because there's always a crisis.
Yeah.
I said, the crisis every day. And she looked at me. We've been married now 48 and a half years. So she said, yeah, you are crazy. Yeah. You are crazy. Why
You like to go from crisis to crisis.
Yeah, why does someone want to have crisis? Well,
Right. Yeah.
It's something to deal with.
It is, and I can tell you're a problem solver, and you want to see those things improved, and kind of the justice and goodness prevail.
I think that's a really good way to describe it, as a problem solver. I mean, that's really what we are. Just this past weekend, I got a call from a young lady, and she got my number, and called me about a human trafficking problem.
Yeah.
And she felt that that had happened to her.
Yeah.
And so today we've got people who are going to see her and see what we can do to be of assistance.
That's good.
So, every day is different.
Exactly, and you never know what's going to come to you. It's just, but it's a matter of when you get those things, what do you do with it?
Right.
And that's the challenge.
And we have a great team, and
Yes.
we have people who are real professionals, and
That's good.
we're very, very fortunate to have them.
You are, and I know that personally we work with the higher ed division,
Sure.
and they just do a great job. And like you said, there are just so many. We have we held a business security forum here on March 16th, and you were a part of that, as your staff was. And I think that you think about colleges and universities, and sometimes we don't think about them as a business environment, but they are. I mean, we are, and we need
you're
a
big
lot
business.
of. We
I mean,
are
a significant
We need-
impact.
Yes, we are, and we need assistance in terms of the legal frameworks and the environment. And it will surprise you how many things there are that have some kind of legal implication.
The forum that we participate in. First of all, thank you for doing that. We get in our office about 30,000 calls a year from people who feel that they've been ripped off. Now, honestly, in some cases, it's kind of what I describe as a failure to communicate between the merchant and the customer. So we try to negotiate those things and help. But we also get a lot of calls that are just out and out fraud. And we've always had crooks, we've always had con artists, We've always had people who would show up after the tornado goes through, or after the hail
Right.
damage to the houses, and they've got a card and they're here to help you. And then of course you never see them again. You give them some money down, and then you never see them. So
Right.
those scams have always been with us.
Right.
But what's new is the use of the internet to rip people off, and really the use of long distance phoning. You know, every single day there's somebody who is in some foreign country who's reaching that long arm into Ohio.
Right.
And they do it in several ways. For example, phone. One of the scams that we see on the phone is what we call the grandparent scam. You're a grandparent, and you pick up the phone. It's 9 o'clock at night. You pick it up, and it's Sarah, your granddaughter, and she's crying. You really don't understand her, but she's in trouble.
Right.
She's in Fort Lauderdale. Well, what are you doing in Fort Lauderdale? Don't tell mom and dad.
Right.
So it's always, I'm in trouble, don't tell mom and dad. And the third thing is wire money. Or buy one of these green dot cards, or one of these cards where you can tell the other person on the other end what number it is, and they can download it right away. Of course, it's not Sarah at all.
Right.
It is, but you do have a granddaughter by the name of Sarah.
Right.
See,
It seems legitimate.
And they have figured it out. They've gone on the internet and figured that out. And what they want you to do is just send them money. And it's always a crisis. I'm in jail. And then if you don't buy that one, then the gruff talking police officer comes on, and he says, I have your granddaughter Sarah, whatever her name is, and you can bond her out, but if you don't bond her out, she's going to be here for a few more days. And so people fall for that.
Yeah.
They wire money. They go to their Walmart or someplace to wire money, or they buy the green dot card and they give them that. Another one that we see a lot around tax season is the IRS scam. They call you up, and it's the IRS, and you owe money. Well, no, I don't. Yes, you do. And they convince you then that you owe money, and then they tell you that we're going to come out and repossess your car, or they tell you we're going to be there in 2 hours and arrest you because you've avoided this tax. And people get scared.
Right.
They panic. I mean,
Right.
The worst thing anybody can hear is this is the IRS
Oh,
calling.
absolutely.
People don't
yeah.
want to hear this is the IRS calling at all. So,
and they don't want to question it either.
no, because they're afraid
so-
to question
right,
then.
Right.
So they don't know what to do. And so what these scam artists rely on is just scaring you to death. And they want you to take action right away. And so we have people who lose thousands of dollars every year, but particularly around the tax season.
Yeah. So what do you tell people to do? I mean, if that happens, what is your course of action if you get one of these calls?
What we tell people is just say no.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't send money.
Right.
And if you wonder if it's a scam, if they're asking you to wire money,
Right.
it probably is a scam.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these scams, the one thing they have in common is they want the money and they want it now.
Right.
And so what I advise people to say is, because maybe they worry that it really is the IRS.
Yeah.
Just say, look, put that in writing, send me a letter, more than happy to talk with you after I get the letter.
Right.
And that gets rid of them.
Right.
Because they don't
They
want
want
that.
the immediate.
They want to move on. And
Right.
people say, well, how do they ever make any money doing that? Well, they're making hundreds, thousands of calls every week. And so they only need 1% or 2% of people to actually fall for that.
Wow.
Another thing we see is on Craigslist. People buy a lot of things on Craigslist. Nothing wrong with that. But we just see a lot of scams. The puppy scam. Puppy scam is you're looking through the internet and you're looking for a dog, and this picture pops up and it's some beautiful dog, and you contact them and they want you to send money. The average person that falls for this in Ohio loses about $900. And I've never paid $900 for a dog, but and nor have I bought one online for a dog. I always want to. My wife laughs at me. She says, "You always want to go to see the dog. You want to see the mother. You want to see the father.
Yeah. Right.
But so we just tell people, be careful.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
Yeah. And when you think something may not be right, you're probably right.
Yeah. If it's too good to be true,
right.
It really is. And a lot of these scams are you've won something. You've won the lottery. You've won the sweepstakes. And again, we tell people, think about that a minute. Did you enter the lottery? Did you enter the sweepstakes?
Right.
You know, if you didn't enter, you can't win.
Right.
But what they do is they will send you a check, but they want you to send them a check. So you don't say, well, we have to have you've won $100,000, but we have to have $1,500 to handle the paperwork and the taxes, and they always got something. So you write your check out, you mail it to them. You get a check back. It looks very legitimate.
Right.
Of course, the check you get back is no good. The check you've sent them is good. You're out $1,500.
Right.
And that happens every day in Ohio. Gosh. So part of what we do is just, we try to warn people about that.
Right.
And one of the things that we talked at the seminar that you all hosted was just, these scams that are out there. And, we talk about business and business being scam. People who are in business are just as liable and susceptible to those scams
as
anybody else is.
Yeah.
And they can get hit, and they can get ripped off.
Right.
And so it's an education process.
Yeah,
really.
Because it seems like the people that are really, I guess the perpetrators here, those that are extending the scam or the fraud, I mean, they've done their homework. I mean, they have really
No, you're absolutely right.
tried to turn it into a science.
They've got it down. They figured out who you, for example, on the scam,
Yeah.
the grandparent scam, they figured out
Yeah.
the names of your grandchildren.
Right, and people don't realize, and we talk to our students about this, social media and what you're putting on Facebook and what you put out there in the public domain that identifies you,
Well,
and
it's like people who go on vacation.
Yeah.
And they're posting stuff on vacation. They're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
They live in Ohio. I mean, they wouldn't think about putting a sign in front of their house that says, "We're on vacation for 2 weeks. Come get anything you want."
Right, but they basically
But
did
they
that.
basically are doing that when they
Yeah.
when they do that on Facebook. And look, it is. There's no doubt about it. It's Fran and I have a lot of grandkids. We have a lot of kids, but the kids today, your students,
Yeah.
are very susceptible
They
to
are.
this because
They are.
their natural thing is to put stuff up on Facebook.
Right,
And that's how they communicate. And they're on Facebook every single day.
exactly. And their every move is almost trackable,
Oh, it is.
And I think that that's something that, it's not about operating your life in fear, but it's about being smart about what you do, portray to
that's
strangers.
Right. That's right. I mean, I'm often amazed at what people put up on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you could understand if they were talking to their friend one-on-one, they would
Right.
put that up on Facebook.
Right.
Sometimes people are putting stuff up on Facebook that's that's very personal,
It
very
is.
private. it would
Exactly.
seem, but the whole world has a chance to.
I know.
So these scam artists are looking, they're
They do.
trolling, they're trying to figure out a way, and they can do all kinds of things.
Right.
One of the things they do is they spoof a phone number. So if they're calling you long distance, they'll have your area code. They'll have a 740 area code or 216 or 513.
Right.
And so you think, oh, that's an Ohio number.
Right.
They're sitting in Puerto Rico or someplace.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The
technology,
extent.
what they can do with the technology today.
Exactly. Well, and you've talked about that today, technology in terms of the DNA work that's available now that you can that can be used, and that's just, that's one of those things that's transformational in terms of being able to solve cases.
Yeah, I mean, not only can you solve cases and convict the guilty, you can exonerate the innocent.
Right.
And you can clear people out of an investigation early.
Right.
Whereas in the old days, they would have been for 6 months. It would have taken to maybe figure out that they didn't do it.
Right.
You hope you would have figured out they didn't do it.
Yeah, which may
And
not.
sometimes they may have been accused and
Yeah.
actually indicted. So
Exactly.
yeah, it can solve a lot of cases,
It can.
protects the innocent.
Yeah, and that's great all the way around. So you've got that in terms of the technology advancements, and then you have things that you're talking about that we can do now in other kinds of detecting fraud, and being able to look at cyber security and what's going on the internet, and being able to get to the bottom of things in a way that maybe we haven't in the past. And I think that's something that at the forum was discussed in the banking industry, cybersecurity, and how that, because I think that when you think about our personal finances and how vulnerable those can be, and some of the national cases that we've seen of credit card companies being hacked into and Social Security numbers being released.
Millions out there.
Yes.
I mean, it is just scary. And what's going on is business is just trying to stay one step ahead.
Right.
Of these scam artists, and the cost to business today is is unbelievable cost. I mean, I just know what it costs us in the Attorney General's office to try to protect the information that we have, and it costs millions of dollars.
Sure, sure.
So it's just it's a huge cost for business. But if you looked at, we talk about, I was in Congress. I was on the Senate Intelligence Committee, and we spent a lot of time. What we did is dealing with our intelligence, the CIA and NSA, et cetera.
Right.
But if you look at national security threats today, one of the biggest national security threats is just hackers.
Yeah.
And, whether it's the Chinese, whether it's a rogue terrorist group, or whether it's a government that's doing it,
right.
The thought that they can come in and
tap into that,
shut us down is a very, very scary thing.
It is, and I know we've got a lot of people working on that, just in so many fronts.
We have a lot of people working on it, but they're trying to stay one step ahead.
Exactly, exactly, and that's a challenge. I know we don't have a lot of time left, and it'd be wonderful to have you back at some time in the future.
You're
always welcome here. I mean, on the campus, on this show, anytime. But as we leave, you've talked a little bit about your wife, Fran, and your children and grandchildren. It's amazing to me that you have the challenging job that you have, and you also have this large family that you help manage and all of those things. But can you tell us anything else about Attorney General Mike DeWine and what you like to do and your family and those kinds of things?
Well, I have a Springer Spaniel, and like to take him out on the farm.
Yeah.
He got a little fat over the winter.
We all did,
because
didn't
I
we?
wasn't out there going as much. Yes, I put on some weight, but now it's better weather, and he likes to go out.
Good.
I like to read. People often say, how do you manage with the time?
Yeah.
And, what Fran and I really have done is we've raised kids, and I've been in government and politics. When I was in the U.S. Senate or in the U.S. House, we'd get visitors who would come out and they'd say, well, where's a good place to eat out here? So, I don't really know.
Right.
We just don't go out, know.
Right.
And what I always tried to do, I always tried to be home for dinner, if it's possible to be home for dinner.
Right.
And when I was in the Senate, for example, I was home for dinner unless the Senate was in session late at night, and I can't control that.
Right.
So
Right.
I think it's it's like anything in life. It's a question of priorities. It's what you want, what you care about, what's important to you.
Yeah.
And for us, with 8 kids and now 22 grandkids,
wow.
That's
important.
It's the family. So.
Right. Well, as we close, I understand that you may have some plans in the future that just what's next for you down the road. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my term is up in 2 years.
Yeah.
2.5 years, and I've really enjoyed being Attorney General. I cannot run for re-election. We have term limits in Ohio. The same way with the governor and other statewide offices. So I have not made any announcements yet.
Yeah.
I think we should get through this current crazy presidential election and election for Senate and other things. But I started to run for governor in 1989. It was a very short-lived campaign. I was out there, and there was a guy by the name of Voinovich and a guy by the name of Taft who were also running, so it didn't take me too long to figure out I'm kind of the third guy out in this party. So, but I often think that if lightning had struck then, I'd actually had become governor.
Yeah.
I think I'd done a pretty good job, but I know so much more today.
Right.
Having been lieutenant governor and now attorney general and also U.S. senator. So I've seen government at every level, and I think I have a pretty good idea what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
And maybe the latter is more important than the former.
Exactly.
But it's how you navigate things. It's what we were talking about a minute ago. It is problem solving. I mean, if we don't have time to go into it this time, but if you look at the big picture of the state of Ohio's long-term problems, I think one of the main problems we have is that we have a lot of kids who are growing up in pretty much dysfunctional homes.
Right.
80% of the kids in foster care are there because the parents have a drug problem. So it's because of drugs, it's because of other things that are attacking the family. And I think we have to sort of figure this out. Not that we can fix every family.
Right.
But these are kids that if we intervene early and give them opportunity, they can live the American dream. At least they have a chance to pursue it. No one's guaranteed anything, but
Right.
but they can be part
Opportunity.
of the middle class and can be productive members of society and live a great life, raise a family. For a lot of these kids, unless something changes, though,
Right.
unless there's some intervention,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to happen for them. So that's
Right.
that's a whole other show.
It is.
But,
It's been a great way for us to end.
Well, it's something I care passionately about, and I
Yes.
think that
I can
we got to
tell.
focus on this.
I can tell that you do feel strongly about that, and it comes from the heart. Thank you so much for being here
been
today.
good. Thank
It's
you.
been a lot of fun.
Time
and
went very fast.
It did
Yeah.
so fast, and we'll have you again sometime if you'll join us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
Thanks.
Thank you.